Why, hello there, a nice day here. I do hope this video finds you well. I'm back after being sick for a while and still am, kind of, but we're making it work. So this is like my second video back, and today I'm bringing you a regular knife review of this Molsect Old Fashioned. And this thing is a pile of weird. It is a pile of interesting and weird. It is right on the line of being a budget knife. And it's doing a lot of interesting stuff here. So let us jump into specs real fast so we can start talking about this knife, get that all out of the way and everything like that. So we can really start talking about this knife, because I have quite a few things to say. Blade length. 3 5/8, just slightly over 3.5. Like that, I'd call that what, 3.62-ish. Overall length, just under 8 inches and 3/8. So I don't know, 8.35 inches. Handle length, about 4 3/4. Hopefully those add up. And I'm not completely losing my mind, which is entirely possible. I had something wrong with my eyes, so they're still recovering. So I'm assuming I'm even looking at the right knife. Who knows? All right. Comparisons to our resident small and full-size comparison knives: Elementum, Conspirator, both by Civivi. As you can see, this knife is bigger than both. It's still a full-size knife. It's a good-size knife. It's definitely full-size. It's not in the large category, but it has a lot of presence. It does. In fact, as you can kind of see, height-wise, it's about as tall as the Conspirator with the flipper tab. Maybe a little taller. It's also quite thick. In fact, it's thicker than the Conspirator by a decent margin. Before I move on to thickness, I just want to give you the standard, here, look at 2 AA batteries, and this gives you a better idea of where your grip length and your grip size is. Because everybody can see what 2 AA batteries look like in a line. As you can see, you pretty much have 2 full AA batteries of grip length on this thing, plus you have sort of like a choil. You have a lot of room. You're not really going to be worrying about, I mean, even if you have huge hands, you can kind of be back here and still be reasonably comfortable. Yeah, you're not going to be struggling for room. Not at all. Now, since I already mentioned thickness, let's just check out this knife's thickness. Basically 0.6 of an inch. So 600 thousandths, over half an inch. Yeah, it's reasonably thick. Blade stock is 137 thousandths. That's actually pretty reasonable. And behind the edge, it comes down to... Actually, the edge bevel on this thing is really, really small, as you can see. I don't know if that's because it gets really fine, which we'll see in a second, or because they... Dear crap. Okay, so the edge bevel is pretty dang small. And it might be high, but behind the edge, as it sits currently, is around 0.0066 thousandths of an inch behind the edge. Yeah, it is extremely thin behind the edge. And it comes down reasonably quite thin. It does feel quite thin. It does get a little bit thicker fast. My guess is that this is probably like a 22-degree edge bevel-ish. You might get a little higher if you lay it back a little bit, but it's not going to get too thick. It's pretty thin, even up there a little bit. Let's see if we go up to about here. Yeah, 10 thousandths, and that's a bit further up the blade. 13, yeah. I don't think you're going to have trouble. This is a thin knife and will cut pretty darn well. Just based on pure geometry, it's going to cut. Weight of the Old Fashioned by Molsect, about 5 ounces. It's not the lightest knife. It's got full steel liners. They are skeletonized a bit, but yeah, it's a substantial knife. It's large in multiple directions, so that's not unreasonable. You have T8 on the outside holding this thing, and as you can see, the pivot is not visible through one side of the... It's covered by one side of the handle scales. It is, however, accessible and therefore adjustable, which I actually prefer. And it seems to be T8 all the way around. Now, there are definitely other screws under here. And should be like one there and maybe one there. I did have this thing apart. I just can't recall if it's T8s all the way around. Let's take a quick look. Or maybe it's just these holding it together. I don't remember. Let's just take a quick look. No, there is a screw in there holding it together further. And I believe that's T8 too. So it should be T8 all around. Maybe I'm misremembering and that's T6. It wasn't hard to take apart. It did need to be cleaned out when I first got it, but it wasn't hard to take apart and put back together. In fact, it went so smoothly that, like, well, I barely remember even doing the whole procedure. That's why I don't remember anything. Also, sick, so give me a break, right? Nah. Well, yeah, who knows. Okay. I believe that is all our relevant specs, so that should be done there. So let's just actually start talking about this. What are we looking at? We're looking at a knife in 14C 28N budget steel. Good toughness. Good corrosion resistance. Okay edge retention, but should be pretty easy to sharpen up. Pretty easy to touch up. It's a good budget steel. You've got a slightly trailing clip point recurve blade, though the recurve is pretty subtle and pretty minor, mostly just right back here. That'll pretty much come out probably when you start sharpening it, but it does give it a little bit of presence. It gives it a little bit of a unique look, and I like that. In fact, its sibling, the Molsect Shuttle, also kind of has that same vibe. You can kind of see how these are comparisons. And for the rest of this video, these are going to be brought out very frequently together. I want to talk about a number of things here, especially when it comes to this one, when I actually do the review for this one, which is upcoming. This one's going to make a reappearance because there are definitely some interesting things going on here that I think they really juxtapose nicely next to each other. But you have jimping up here. The jimping is not the best kind of jimping, but if you really push into it, it does actually give you some traction. The only actuation method on this thing is the front flipper, but, I mean, yeah. It is so high, it's almost a top flipper. It is incredibly easy to use. Incredibly. You can use it as honestly, with your index finger very easily. I know that some people will be turned off by pure front flipper only, but this is about as easy of a front flipper as you can get. The only thing, and this is important, it does not work good for the slow roll because most of the flipper disappears sort of into the handle before the blade is fully open. See, right there? I pretty much lose access to it right around here, and the blade's not open yet. So, slow roll, not so much. It is a front flip knife. Or, I mean, you can do all the, the front flipper stuff with it, no problem. But you have to be aware of that. Sharpening tool and plunge grind is okay. It's back here. It's not hitting the edge. You've got, actually, that's a pretty, even though it's not far from the edge, it is well higher than the edge. So you've got a good amount of life on this thing. And the stop pin is internally mounted to the blade, in fact. You can see right there. So, yeah, you have full access, no problem whatsoever. The only marks on this knife is the Molsect logo. I'm guessing this is maybe the designer or something, and 14C28N. Otherwise, it is completely and utterly sterile, and I really appreciate that. I think it gives it a nice look. this knife in general has a very interesting and unique look. Just, it's different, and I really like seeing that. If you look back on some of my other knives, or you continue watching this knife, continue watching this knife channel, you will notice that I do tend to have a penchant for going for more interesting designs. I love plain knives, I do. This is great. I love this. But I'm an enthusiast. My funds are not endless, and therefore I do like seeing things that are unusual, to say the least. Also a knife in the works for the review. And this one definitely hits that, while maintaining a functional knife. As I said, steel liners, reasonable amount of weight reduction. The G10 and the micarta, I think I'm pretty sure they are epoxied together. There is a seam there, but it's really pretty good. And it's one piece. It comes off as one solid piece of like G10, but it's got technically micarta on there. And this is sort of like a really vibrant denim blue micarta. It's not bad. It's not like the highest quality micarta. It's not top-end Kaiser or like Vosteed stuff that they're using, but it's good micarta. It feels nice. It looks good. It's very bright. I mean, this is a very interesting colorway, honestly. This white with the blue with this bronze. It's different looking. There are a few options. There's a coated blade one. There's a more... I think there's a... Is there a black-handled one? I don't know. I'll link the Molsect website or whatever down below. You can check them out for yourself, should you so care. There is also a wood and brass variant of this thing with a different steel that's actually, I think, laminated, or it's got like a Homon line on it. That one is slightly more expensive. I think it's a different kind of steel. And one thing that should be noted for that one is I don't believe that variant has a pocket clip on it. So I liked the looks of that with the wood and everything like that, but pocket clip, I think for me is the right way to go. So I went with this one because this is interesting. Also, another thing that's interesting, or one of my reasonings, was these scales, which is something we're definitely going to be talking about a lot later. But for now, as you can see, the edges are kind of abrupt and hard-angled, and I was worried about the wood being unpleasant to interface with. I figured the micarta would, soften that a bit. But before we get there, it's on bearings. It's a liner lock, steel liner lock. It is actually quite smooth. The action is very nice. Very, very good for a budget tier knife. I did notice that there's this line here. It's like a super thin cut into the back end of the tank. I honestly don't know what it's there for. I do not know what it's there for. But it's there. So it doesn't seem to really do anything. It's just there. Just something worth mentioning. Can't touch the back end of the blade. Good thing. Of course. Big, nice choil. Get real close up there. And I don't feel like I'm going into it whatsoever. In fact, I feel very safe, very controlled. And the little sort of almost poon kind of ramp here really feels good right in this spot. I feel locked in. Of course, that can vary for your hands and hand size and grip and everything like that. But I think it feels good. Titanium pocket clip, which is a nice little touch. It's got good flex. It does not have the greatest retention, like, as you can hear. Like there, I just did that, and it's now tapping a little bit more than it was. It's may not be like super high grade titanium, I don't know, but it is titanium. It does work, and of course it's easy to fix. You can just pop that off and just bend it back a little bit. It's not really a big deal, but it is a titanium pocket clip, and it works just fine. And for not for being like, you know, a milled titanium pocket clip, it's surprisingly deep carry. Not ultra deep, but it does carry pretty deeply. But it also, with this micarta, gives good pull on getting it in and out of the pocket, basically. Blah. I don't know what I'm saying. There is a backspacer. It is more G10, and I actually like it, especially considering the way they did it. It sits inside the liners, as you can see, but they use the G10 itself. It's one solid piece from there. It connects on there, but it doesn't connect on there. So they left one solid piece of G10 to sort of fit into the liner, and it's got this bar made of G10. It's all one solid piece, and that's your hidden lanyard post. I like it. I kind of like how they did it. It makes things look interesting. That's kind of the name of the game on this knife, but it is a good knife, too. Now we come to ergos. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this knife back out. This knife, when I got it, when I first saw it, I thought it looked pretty cool. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a David Lespect custom. Very kind of similar shapes and form factor. He also does front flippers and stuff like that. Oh, before I mention that, this might actually be... It doesn't really feel hollow ground. Yeah, I don't think it's hollow ground. I think it's a flat grind, but it does come down pretty light. Or pretty thin. Light. I don't know what I'm talking about. I keep coming up with things to put off the scales, but lock bar access is actually quite good. Good there. Bolt out, knock down. Easy. Drops to your finger. Slides down from there. Good. Okay, now, without further ado, let's finally get there. The scales. I was concerned about these scales when I first saw this thing. And when I first got it, I was even more concerned when I saw it, because these scales look like they're doing everything wrong. The chamfers are very, very subtle. Like, there's a decent chamfer here, but the chamfer is very tiny along here, and it's mostly like this chamfer has been super widened. But by making such a wide chamfer here, you basically just have kind of a hard, abrupt, sharp angle here and a hard, abrupt, sharp angle here. Everything about this thing looks and would tell me normally that this would ruin the ergo. Like, this would be hotspot galore. Why would they do this? This stupid thing comes together to make an extremely comfortable knife. It is flat scaled. You can feel, like, I mean, it's flat scaled. You can feel the clip and everything like that. But it is way more comfortable than it should be. When I had a much more expensive Vero Synapse XL that had, if you've ever seen them, the Vero edges are kind of abrupt, hard, about as hard and abrupt as the back ear. When I gripped into that knife, I felt kind of that hard edge in my hand. This knife, in my hands at the very least, I don't feel these very arguably potentially sharp, abrupt edges. Something about the way that they've put these chamfers in here and at the exact angles that they've got it all together, it all comes together that I land in the chamfers that are these wide things somehow. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I should be feeling this. But the way they've got it all done, I don't know if... I assume it's on purpose. If so, it is clearly the product of extensive design work, because this doesn't make sense. Like, I grip into this thing like this. This isn't where I would normally grip into it, and it is not comfortable. You got hard, sharp edges everywhere. But if you really just grip this knife like a knife, something about it all works. And I don't know why. Even up here, getting my fingers up here, you'd think, oh, you reposition, you're going to now start getting some of these sharp edges. No. It's still weirdly comfortable. Flat scales, I mean, it's for a flat scaled, thicker knife, this is really comfortable. I can't stress that enough. It doesn't seem like it should be as comfortable as it is. It's kind of bizarre. And that's the reason why I wanted to bring out this one, because this one is in aluminum, is contoured. It's got some of the same design philosophies of these, like, exaggerated long chamfers, but for the most part, the chamfers are much smaller. I'll be completely honest with you. This knife is like the opposite of this knife. It's not bad. It's not uncomfortable. It is kind of questionable in the choked up position. I won't go into full details. Of course, this is going to get its own review. But this knife feels more awkward to hold than this knife. Despite being the same design, philosophy, and company. I don't know if it's designed by the same people. If it's not, well, then clearly this guy put a lot more design thought into this one. That was very careful. Because this one has some issues with, like, the clip placement and some of the angles that you actually feel, despite this one having way, way more hard angles. But in my hands, I feel like none of it. I don't know why, but I don't. This thing is disturbingly comfortable. Despite looking like it really, really... heck, feeling like it really, really shouldn't be. And I think it deserves some credit just for that. It's also perfectly centered, and there is no play. This is a very well-made knife. This knife, I believe, is typically $76 for this knife. $76, $78, something in that territory. That is right on the bubble for budget knife. But the action does feel slightly better than your average budget knife. Like, it does feel like this thing has been put through a little bit more precision and quality than you get in just your standard budget knife. I'm not saying it's, like, super better than something like a Civivi or a Miguron. No, they're great knives, too. And they're cheaper, typically. Real Steel, there's a lot of companies. Kaiser definitely does it. But I will say, there is a solidity here and a feeling of good quality and smoothness to the whole thing that does feel a little bit more than your standard budget knife. So at the price point, I'm still going to call it right on the edge of budget. And at this price point, it is recommendable. It is still recommendable. It is still a really, really good knife. I cannot guarantee with certainty that your hand's going to work perfectly for this thing, but if you grab it and get used to it, for me, it was surprising and shocking when I first picked this thing up and was like, that is not going to work. And then I was like, oh my god, that works. Why? Why does that work? It shouldn't work. It doesn't look like it should work. It does. For me. So, be cautious, but I really think if you like the look of this, it's worth giving it a try. Now, as I said, there is the wood variant. I was a little intimidated by the wood variant having even harder edges, but considering how hard these edges are and considering how much they sort of just mold in, honestly, without the pocket clip, the wood variant might even be more comfortable. It doesn't make sense, but it might be the case. This is a really, really cool and fun knife, and it's a really good one. I actually really like this knife. The Molsect Old Fashioned is definitely coming in at a reasonably appropriate price for the solidity and feel of the actual knife. I mean, it's got pretty thick, actually, steel liners compared to a lot of your steel liners that are sort of a little thinner. And honestly, this is the QSB Turtle Punk. This one, I think, is actually more expensive. So, yeah, no, it's very much reasonable. I like this and can recommend it, and I cannot... I'm having trouble articulating just how strange it is feeling this knife in hand and being like, why are these edges that I can feel not hot spots? Why are these as comfortable as they are? They have no right being it. Now, I will say, in the push grip, unless you get it, adjust yourself into the push grip right, like right here, I'm pretty darn comfortable. I'm fine. But Yeah, the push grip does definitely throw you off a little bit. Up here, actually, is push grip is pretty good. But you might have to adjust a little bit to get rid of like a hot spot or so on the push grip, because you're definitely, gripping into the handle a bit differently. But I can still find a place where I'm comfortable and confident. So, I don't know. They managed it. They did a good job of it. It's a fun, kind of unique knife with an interesting blade, and it's still right on the budget ball, sort of balanced at the edge of the budget territory. I think it's worth checking out, is basically where I'm going with this. And I've, once again, spent too much time. The last review I did, I spent too much time. But there's a decent amount of talk about here, and to try and convey properly. Hopefully, I did that. When the summary for this knife comes up, I'm going to be much more succinct. So, yeah. Thank you for watching, if you have. If you've stuck around this long, consider liking and subscribing for more. It would greatly help the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Amazon links are down there if you want to just go through my link whenever you have an Amazon order. You don't have to put what is in the link. I put just a general Amazon link down in there. You go through that link and you add anything to your cart. I get a little taste of it. As sort of like a commission kind of thing. I only have that for Amazon. It would greatly help me and help the channel. Anything that I make, I mean, it's not a lot, but if I were to make something, it would go right back into the channel. I think I've made about like $5 total. Yeah, since I've started the channel, and a couple people have used it. For one of them I know personally, so yeah. But hey, $5 is $5, right? It'd go back into the channel, and I'd appreciate it if you would consider doing so. Just bookmarking that or something like that would be great too. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to even look at this knife. You don't have to watch this video. You don't. But if you did, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you continue having a great day, and I hope to see you again. Thank you for watching. I will see you later.